Hello, this is Brian from Logic Pro Hacks. How's it going? Welcome. If you don't know me already, then you just don't know me. So, hey, I was brought up with an interesting question the other day by a user named SuperFunkSense, and it was a great, interesting troubleshooting problem because, you know, in Logic, it gets a little tricky sometimes, especially when you want to produce with two different MIDI analog keyboards. You know, when you connect one, it's challenging enough, but when you try to connect two, oh my gosh, and run through the same MIDI ports. Say like if you have one MIDI interface, and how do you route the MIDI from two keyboards into that interface? And then let Logic see it and record from it, from both keyboards. This one was a pretty much challenging one, but I got you covered. I'll show you how, and I'll take some nice video for you. All right, so first things first, let's show you what I have first. Okay. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to switch over to the iPhone camera. Show you the MIDI connections. All right, guys, here is my setup. I have keyboards over here, and then a keyboard right here. Then I also have down here some APC 40s and an APC 20. But that's for another day. So what I want to show you here is the MIDI hookups, what we have going on here. So let's go ahead and just pull this guy out here gently until we can see some MIDI. So right now you can see that I have 3 MIDI cables. The in port right here where my finger is pointing, and then we have the out port where you can see the Radio Shack cable. Yeah, I have a Radio Shack cable. And then we have another one. This is a through cable or through port. So yeah, old school MIDI here using a through cable. So yeah. So then, let's show you what's going on at the interface. Alright, blah 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 blah. So we're at the interface right now. And remember I was saying the Radio Shack cable, it was going on the out port. Now it's going on the in port, just like normal MIDI hookup. And then we have this other cable that doesn't have a name on it, but I'm pointing to it. That was on the in port. Let's see if I can get a better picture here. That was on the in port, now go on the out port. Alright, now that through cable, you're asking, well, where's that one going? I got you covered now. Alright, so we're gonna go find that through cable. Da-da-da. Here is the Roland D-20 in its beauty. And then go right here, and you can see the little cable with the red twist tie, or not twist tie, cable tie. That is the through cable, and what it's going on is, if we could see it, I don't know if you can see it right now, but it's kind of dark up there, but that is the import on the MIDI, on the Roland MIDI, and that's all I have connected is just the import. So we'll go back over and just review it one more time. On the Korg Karma, we have the in port, which is going to the out port on the interface. You can see this one right here is going to the out port on the interface, in to out. This one right here, the Radio Shack cable, is the out port on the Korg Karma going to the in port on the interface. And this one right here with the little red cable tie deal, that one is coming out of the through port of the Korg Karma and going to the in port of the Roland D-20. Alright, so we got that all covered. Now, let's go back to the other screen. I forgot one more thing that's very, very, very important. When you set up two keyboards, you have to select different channels. What I mean by that is, like, for example, this Korg Karma, I decided to let this be number 2 channel. But you can change it to whatever you want, it doesn't matter. But it has to be different from the other keyboard. And so what I mean by that is, like, I go in here to global, hit the global menu, then I go over to menu, and then I hit the MIDI key, then I hit open. And then right there you can see where it says MIDI channel, it says number 2. I did that. I changed it. You can change it with the little scroll wheel right here. And I changed it to number 2. And there's a reason why for that, because when you have 2 keyboards it needs to be on a different channel so that Logic will know how to route the data sent on the MIDI cables. And then we go over here to the Roland D-20. If we hit, there's a little MIDI key right here. Go ahead and hit that. You can see that my MIDI channel is channel 01. And you could change it to whatever you want. It goes, you got 16 available, but I just picked 1 and 2. That's all I really needed. So we'll go ahead and remember that. Now let's go back to the screen. Alright, so what we have going on here is this is a little test lab that I created in Logic that shows how I have 2 keyboards connected. What I want to do is I want to take you to the MIDI editor window. Utilities, go Utilities, and you open up Audio MIDI Setup. Double click on that. And then you're hit with this. If for some reason the window does not open up, all the windows open up, just go up here to, it would say Show MIDI Window instead of Hide. So right now I have a Digi 003. I have the ability to do more than 1 MIDI port. I actually have 3 MIDI ports on there. It's kind of an oddball interface, but that's what I have, and that's the cards I was dealt with. Anyways, it's not the best interface, but you know, it works. So the first thing I did was I hooked up the Korg Karma, so you could see your little instruments in here, and I have videos that show how to do that. And that's just real easy. You just go Add Device, double click on it, name it whatever you want, manufacturer whatever you want, and then in the ports you want to name that to whatever instrument that is. And this MIDI in and out, that's how many ports your keyboard has. That has nothing to do with channels. It's like if your keyboard has like 4 ports, then you would put, you know, 2 ins and 2 outs or whatever. So that's what you use. So getting back to that, so you have one created for your instrument. Let's go ahead and delete that. So like on my Korg Karma, I created that, and then I just put it in the in and out of the Digi, right there. So you go, doom, like that. You go, doom, right there. Now since there's a through cable, and it's going to the in, I take the out from the Digi and I go to the in like that. And that's how I have mine connected in the audio MIDI setup. You can see how it's, even though the through cable is technically coming from here and going over there, it's just from how OS X works in this MIDI studio, you have to do it this way, if that makes sense. Alright, so we have a through cable connected and all good. So now let's go back to Logic. Let's go ahead and quit this. Alright, so now when you go ahead and when you go in here and you create, say like you want to create 2 new MIDI instruments, well, you just hit the plus mark in here and you just go software instrument. You can do it the easy way here. You could just do software instrument, create, and then on your instrument you go to utility, external instrument, stereo, and then your MIDI destination. The first one, I'm going to pick Korg Karma, the MIDI channel. Since, remember when we went back there that we had the Korg Karmas as MIDI channel number 2? This is where you're going to select that. And the input is so say like right now, I have my inputs on 7 and 8 on the, coming out of the Korg Karma, the audio outputs of the Korg Karma, and then going into the input of my interface 7 and 8. Because you can't get audio from MIDI. They're 2 different things. So then you pick that for your input, and you're good. So if we went ahead and did play, we should hear something. Yep, got something. Yay. If I actually could play a chord right there. There we go. And you could also see that it's working because when you hit a chord, it's showing something. Yeah, there we go. D minor chord right there. So it's showing a chord in there. Up in here. So it's definitely reading the MIDI data. Now, here's the tricky part. We're going to go in and we're going to create another one for the Roland. So you just go ahead and just do a software instrument. Hit create. Might as well rename that one. We said the Korg Karma. And then this one, hit tab to go to the next one. Tab key. And then this is Roland D-20. There we go. And then on here, we pick instrument again, utility, external instrument, stereo, and then MIDI destination. We're going to pick the Korg Karma again. Where is it? Right there. As the MIDI destination. Yeah, I know. It's very tricky. And that was the tricky part. That's the part that I wanted to show you. You have to, because at least in my operating system for OS X, it will not show the instrument that was made in the MIDI setup window. It will not show the Roland. It only shows the first instrument that was connected, if that makes sense. So I went ahead and I just did the Korg Karma. And it'll go, trust me, it'll work. And the MIDI channel, and you remember how we had that one set for 1? I'll go ahead and set that for 1. And the input, I believe I have 11 and 12. And if I go ahead and hit my Roland, you should hear some noise. Yep, I got that going. So that's good. So that's the audio part. Now, what about the MIDI part? What about if we had MIDI on this channel? Will it play? Well, it should. So let's go ahead and let's bring some MIDI down over here, and we'll show you if it plays. Now, will it play? Yep, it's playing. It's reading the MIDI in Logic, and it's playing back out. So we know that it's working. And the reason why it is working like that is because we separated the channels, the MIDI channels. It's reading through MIDI channel 1 for the Roland. And we have this channel selected as channel 1, if that makes sense. Now, if we take this guy and we move it back up here, we play it right here. See, listen. All right, so yeah, and we just moved it right up, and now the Korg Karma is taken over. So we have those channels separated. Great, awesome. Now, let me show you a way that I like to do it, because I feel like I have more control over it. On this way, and the other thing is when you bounce this down, you will have to do it this way, Command B for the bounce window. You will have to do it in real time. Pick this mark right here when you do your bounce, because or it won't pick it up. Turn that off. Okay. Cool. So let's go ahead and just delete these guys because that was just for example. Now let me show you what I did. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one too. I didn't really need that there. Okay. So now I've created, what I did is I did it a little bit differently. I went in here and I created external MIDI. And I picked the Korg Karma as the external MIDI. And I actually created 2 of them. 2 MIDI things at the same output. Hit cancel. And I'll show you what I created over here. So, and if we go in here to the region, this Korg Karma, I have it set for channel 2. Because that's what I have it set for the keyboard earlier when I changed it on the keyboard. But you can load an LSO bank in there. You can have it control. I have not programmed this part yet. And you can see that I don't have it set. If you wanted to enable this part, and it automatically changed my thing where it was before. So, but I didn't want to do that. And now I just lost my patch. Oh, great. What was it? It was Newman's car. It was the patch. There it is. Got my patch pack, goes 26. So yeah. So that will, you could set that, check that mark, and it'll control your stuff. I'm not doing that right now. But what I wanted to show you is, and then on this one I have channel 1 selected right there. And then the reason why I'm doing this way, then you create audio channels. I created 2 audio channels. You go do audio, and you select your inputs, each one, because each one's going to have its own input. So let's go ahead and, so what I like to do is, like in my projects, I like to record parts in. I don't like to bounce it all out and just wait for all the keyboards to bounce out when you do it in real time. I can actually record the part in that I like, and then I can put some further processing on the audio file, like, reverb, EQ, and then I could just mute these parts right here. So let's go ahead and unmute them. So say like after I recorded it in, and then I just mute these, and then I just process the audio here. Do something like that. And that's why I like to do it that way. And you can also edit it, and you can put automation on it and stuff like that. So it's really cool. So let's go ahead and let's show you how you, show you a little bit more information about this. So when you go ahead and you play something, for example, let's go ahead and just play this. And let me show you something interesting here. Like, look at that right now. There's no MIDI. All right, we'll stop. So you notice that when this MIDI channel came in, that there was no sound coming out. Well, you have to do this something. You have to go in here. So you go to Logic, Preferences, Audio. And then you go over here to this General tab. And then see down here where it says Input Monitoring only for focus track. You want to uncheck that because that will really mess you up. So that means that, like right now, this Korg Karma is highlighted, and if I have this little eye checked, and then I have another eye checked for the other one, that other one would not, you would not hear sound from. So just make sure that's unchecked. Also, I make sure that this is checked, and the software monitoring is checked, and the 24-bit recording, because I like to record in 24-bit. We'll go ahead and close that. So make sure that those things are checked. And then when we go ahead and just hit this one and this one, these little eyes, and then watch as I play. And the rolling kicks in. Now the Korg Karma kicks in. Now here's the cool thing. Check this out. We hit the X key, and I have EQ on each one, and then I also have reverb bust out to a reverb channel, which is pretty cool. And I can believe that when I hit the record, that it actually records in that reverb. So and the cool thing about this is when you bounce things down and you already have your parts recorded in for each section or whatever that you're doing, your chorus section, whatever, you can just go ahead and just mute the MIDI files, and then make sure you unmute this, and then you hit Command B, and you do not have to hit real time. It'll just bounce in, super fast warp speed. Okay. All right. Now let's just go over the MIDI settings just one more time, because this is a little tricky. We have the Korg Karma set for channel 2, and it's also set for channel 2 on the keyboard. And then the Roland D-20 is set for channel 1. Now here's the interesting thing, that since there is a through cable, check this out. If I go ahead and I hit the keyboard and I have it highlighted up here for channel 2, you should hear the Korg Karma. All right, so that was the Korg Karma that just played. Cool. Now, if I go down here and I'm playing on the Korg Karma again, it should trigger the bell sounds from the Roland. But, uh-oh, did you hear that? It's also triggering the sound from the Korg Karma. And it's weird. But I think that's normal, especially when you have the hookup the way I did. Now, if I go over to the keyboard of the Roland, and then I play a chord, like a D minor chord, now that's now it's working. And if I go over here and highlight this one, it should still work. Yep, it works. But if I go over here and I just play this one, it's Korg Karma. If I go over here and play it through here on the Korg Karma, it plays both. That's strange, huh? And the thing that which gets me is because this is MIDI channel 1, but for somehow I think it's receiving everything. So and that's the one part that got me a little bit. But I think it's because the way the through cable works and the way it's routed, it'll trigger. Or it could be, I think it might be a bug in the Korg Karma too. The Korg Karma's MIDI is a little bit different than the normal keyboard because it has all that Uber stuff, the Karma engine that it has, which is kind of cool. Eventually I'm going to get into more of that. You can make some amazing things with it. And this keyboard's like over 10 years old. So it's a really badass keyboard, especially when it comes to MIDI, automating MIDI stuff. So I just wanted to show you that if that happens, that's a normal thing, especially if you have it the way I hooked up with the MIDI through. Now I have it highlighted up here, and then I'll play the Korg Karma, and only Korg Karma sound comes out. Now if I highlight it down here and I play the Korg Karma, they all come out at the same time. Now if I play just from the Roland, only the Roland comes out. So, to me, it's fine. I could still play now. If I could play both keyboards at the same time, but I just got to make sure that this one's highlighted, and then now I can play both keyboards. Do a D minor. And the patches I'm using for the Korg Karma, I'm using a Moss board patch, and it's a custom patch from Drew's Synths patch line or something like that. I got it off the site. It's called Newman's Car. The name of it. It's a slow synth patch, and I believe the sound is maybe something that Paul Newman would listen to in his car. I don't know. And then the other patch that I have for the Roland is a fantasy bell patch. So there you go. And if we unmute them, I'm going to go ahead and just play it. Oh yeah, let me show this one more thing here. This is a patch from, this is a Logic EXS24. This is come from Logic. And if I play the Korg Karma, see how it'll play that and play the Korg Karma at the same time, which is normal. If you just want to isolate that, you have to uncheck these. If you just want to play it by itself. Now, if I go over here and I try to play it, I cannot play it with the Roland D-20 because of the way the MIDI through, because there's no output. There's no MIDI going back out into Logic. But the Korg Karma will play that part, which is fine. I don't really care about that. All right, so let's go ahead and just play the song. And oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop this project, this MIDI test project, onto blend.io and splice.com, and you look for the username /Faded Shadows. Do anything you want with this project. I'll go ahead and I'll leave the audio files that I recorded in. And there you go. This MIDI file was taken from the audio loops library. It was a string, just basically a string MIDI file, and I edited the bass part to fit. I did, just some, 4 on the floor kind of bass notes, and then I went down and just followed the main melody line with the bass. Well, sort of, kind of, because you can see that there's a C, and then I went like that with the bass. So it's a little different, a little cool, but you get it. So let's go ahead and just play the rest of this and these guys on, and then you guys can hear it. Here we go. Have fun. Enjoy. Bye.